He put a gun inches from my face and told me I had 30 minutes to leave my own property. I could see my reflection warped in the slide my driveway stretching out behind him like it was already no longer mine. And in that moment, standing on land I owned outright, I realized someone had decided my life was negotiable. I didn't flinch. Not because I'm brave in some movie-style way, but because shock does something strange to time. Everything slows down. Sounds dull out. Details sharpen. The smell of hot asphalt, the hum of an engine idling somewhere behind him, the way his arm was locked straight like he'd practiced this pose before and liked how it felt. He said I was trespassing. He told me to pack up and go. And behind him stood my house, the one I'd bought after I got out. No mortgage, no liens, no HOA sign anywhere near it. Just my land, my driveway, and the quiet I'd worked decades for. Before any of that happened, all I wanted was peace. That's the part people always miss when they hear the rest of the story. They jump straight to the confrontation, the gun, the aftermath. But the truth is, I didn't move out here to fight anyone. I moved out here to disappear a little. I'm a Marine, or I was. I don't announce it. I don't wear hats or slap stickers on my truck. I did my time, served my tours, and came home wanting the one thing Marines don't get much of: silence. This place was supposed to be that. A line drawn between the chaos I'd seen and the life I was trying to build. The problem started with a woman named Karen Brown. Even saying her name now makes my jaw tighten. She lived in a gated community down the road, the kind with matching mailboxes and rules about trash cans. She was running for HOA president. Campaign flyers, yard signs, meetings packed with promises about protecting property values and community standards. The usual script. The issue was I didn't live in her HOA. My property sits just outside their boundary. Always has. The county maps are clear. The survey pins are still there. But Karen decided boundaries were flexible when they got in her way. She showed up one afternoon with a clipboard and a smile that felt rehearsed. Not friendly, not warm, polished. She told me my property was technically included in their HOA, that I owed back dues, and that during campaign season my driveway would be used to host out-of-state volunteers coming in to support her run. She said it like it was already decided, like my consent was a formality. I told her no, politely. I even walked her through it, showed her my deed, the survey, the county records. She didn't look at any of it. Didn't need to. She just smiled and said, "We'll handle this." 2 weeks later, the letters started showing up. Notices of violation, unauthorized occupancy, pending removal, all unsigned, all threatening, all fake. I ignored them. That was my first mistake. I told myself no one would actually push it this far, that there were lines people didn't cross, that logic still mattered. I was wrong. The day he showed up, I was fixing a loose board near the edge of the driveway. Black vest, cheap radio, fake badge clipped to his chest that said HOA enforcement. Like that meant something. He walked up my driveway like he owned it, hand already hovering near his waistband. He told me I had 30 minutes to vacate. I laughed once, not because it was funny, but because it was absurd. That's when he pulled the gun. "Last warning," he said. "Karen doesn't like being told no." That was the moment everything shifted. I noticed his stance was wrong, his grip sloppy, his breathing too fast. This wasn't law enforcement. This was intimidation dressed up as authority. I told him he was making a serious mistake, that he was armed, trespassing, and threatening a homeowner. He sneered and said I didn't get it. She wanted me gone. Standing there staring down the barrel of a gun on my own driveway, I felt something crack. Not fear exactly, more like disbelief, a hollow pressure in my chest. I thought about all the times I'd followed rules that made no sense because someone told me to. All the times I'd kept my head down, trusted systems, trusted people in power to act like adults. And here I was being told my land wasn't mine anymore because it inconvenienced a campaign. For a split second I considered backing down, just leaving, letting it go, asking myself if it was worth it. That thought scared me more than the gun, because if I walked away, then I knew I'd never really come back. I'd be gone in every sense that mattered. I asked him how he planned to remove me, calmly. That question threw him. People who play authority don't like being asked to explain it. His jaw tightened. The muzzle twitched just enough for me to see it. Behind him, a black SUV idled at the curb. No front plates. Windows tinted too dark. Campaign flyers stacked on the passenger seat. Karen's smiling face staring back at me through the glass. That's when I understood the real plan. They weren't trying to negotiate. They were trying to scare me into leaving so no one would question why strangers suddenly needed my land. He stepped closer. The barrel brushed my cheek. Time slowed even more. I shifted my weight, turned my shoulder slightly, and slapped the slide sideways with the heel of my hand. Hard. The gun went offline just as his finger tightened. The shot cracked past my ear and buried itself somewhere behind me. Before he could process what happened, I was inside his reach. Training takes over in moments like that. Muscle memory doesn't ask for permission. I drove my forearm into his throat, felt the resistance give, felt his grip loosen. I wrenched the gun free, kicked his knee sideways, and heard the pop as it folded. He went down, screaming. I stepped back, weapon trained on him now. Told him to put his hands on the ground. He didn't listen. Reached for his waistband. That was the second mistake. I struck him once clean and controlled enough to end the fight without ending his life. He collapsed face first onto my driveway. Silence rushed in. My heart was steady, my breathing even. Years of training don't vanish just because the setting looks suburban. Neighbors were already outside, phones up, mouths open. Someone shouted they'd called the police. Another yelled my name like we were friends who'd never spoken before. I set the gun down carefully, kicked it away, stepped back with my hands visible. From the SUV, the engine revved, then it sped off. Karen wasn't sticking around. When the sirens came, they came fast. Red and blue washed over the front of my house, cutting through the afternoon. I stayed exactly where I was. The officer asked what happened. I told him I'd been threatened at gunpoint on my own property and defended myself. He looked from me to the man on the ground to the fake vest. Another officer kicked the weapon farther away and cuffed him. EMS showed up. Fractured orbital, crushed knee, concussion. Lucky to be breathing. Lucky. The word sat heavy. They ran my ID. Confirmed the address. No HOA. Never had been. When they went through his vest, they found a cheap badge, a prepaid phone, and folded papers with campaign instructions. Karen Brown's name appeared more than once. The questions changed tone after that. This wasn't a misunderstanding anymore. It was an investigation. As the fake cop was loaded into the ambulance, one of the officers pulled me aside and told me I wasn't under arrest. Clear self-defense, he said. We'd be in touch. The cruisers pulled away. The neighborhood slowly exhaled. People drifted back inside, carrying a story they'd be telling for years. I stood alone on my driveway, my house still standing behind me. Karen wanted land. She wanted power. She wanted obedience. What she got instead was a trail of evidence and a campaign collapsing under the weight of its own lies. Some people think authority is something you can fake long enough to get what you want. But the truth has a way of showing up with sirens and paperwork, and when it does, it doesn't negotiate.